Watch Lethal Weapon again. I haven't seen it enough. I guess we got to move on to Monstervision. The Lethal Weapon movies, they cost like 80 million bucks, whereas our first feature tonight on Monstervision, XTRO 2, it costs 80 bucks. Otherwise, same wall-to-wall, non-stop action stunts. But later on, we have The Silencers, the movie that explains once and for all what those aliens are doing that landed in Roswell, New Mexico in 1947. And both movies explain what happens with Nexus. Nexus. And Lexus. And Sexus. I'm Joe Bob Briggs, and I'm from Texas.
See Monstervision host Joe Bob Briggs next on TNT.
Hey, I'm Joe Bob Briggs, and if you liked Alien, then you're going to spend the next 2 hours going, hey, didn't they do that in Alien? Because we're starting off Monstervision tonight with the improbable alien ripoff, XTRO 2, The Second Encounter. And then later on, we'll have the movie that came before Men in Black called The Silencers, a slightly different take on those mysterious guys in Armani. And speaking of Armani, am I the last person in America who actually likes to wear a suit? I mean, don't get me wrong, not every day. And not one of those shoulder busters that make you feel like a frozen codfish that's been pickled and mummified. But sometimes it's okay. It feels good to me. But I'm only one guy, because what's the universal cry of the male couch potato? Do I have to wear a coat and tie? And the answer is yes, sometimes you do. But I think the reason so many people are unhappy in their coats and ties is that the gall-dang things never fit. And the reason they never fit is that the only place you can buy them now is stores in the mall where they got them racked up like flexible coffins on those wooden hangers with the clothespins on them. After you spend about 9 hours trying on different suits, they have some guy named Saul come out of the back room and make a few chalk marks on your shoulders and waist and cuffs, and then they kind of cinch it up and stretch it out and jerry-rig that sucker until it kind of fits. Well, there used to be Chinese guys in every city who would just make an appointment with you, and you'd build the gall-dang suit. You'd choose whatever you wanted, herringbone, houndstooth, nailhead, pinstripe, worsted flannel, wool, silk, wide lapels, narrow lapels, back vent, side vent, no vent, cuffs, no cuffs, English pockets, open pockets, 3 buttons, 2 buttons, 4 buttons, double-breasted, single-breasted vest, flat collar, high collar. You got the idea? And the Chinese guy would measure every inch of your body, and if you had one shoulder that hung lower than the other shoulder, he'd sew that mother so you'd never know the difference. Now, why don't we just go back to this system? Because now what's happening is that men hate suits so much that you can go to the dangdest places and find perfectly normal people running around like sweatshirt goonies. Because when I first went to that famous restaurant in New Orleans, Brennan's, that's a really famous restaurant, right? I was the only guy in a suit. I mean, in most cities, when you go to the best restaurant in town, you wear a suit. Evidently, they don't dress up for diddly squat in New Orleans. Same thing with the Broadway Theater. I was surprised there. Symphony orchestras, hotel dining rooms, all places that used to be full of suit wearers. Now, it's about half and half. So you see one guy's in Armani, another guy's in Beavis and Butthead, side by side. I've been to the Metropolitan Opera House one time in my life, and by God, I wore a suit. I thought it was expected. I have to say, the standards of dress at the Met, they're still pretty high, but I also have to say there were people there in jeans. Now, nothing against jeans, but they weren't even good jeans. What is that about? The Metro Gall-dang-politan Opera. You know, anyhow, I'm going to shut up because it's time to start the 1991 flick XTRO 2 now, starring the one and only Jan Michael Vincent. And don't worry if you didn't see XTRO 1, because it's not really a sequel. They just wanted all those XTRO fans, whoever they may be, to think it was a sequel. But it's about this gooey alien with big chompers that explodes out of an astronaut's body and chases Jan Michael Vincent and his girlfriend and Krychek from the X-Files around this place that could be a spaceship, but it's really an underground lab. And it is an alien ripoff, but it was made for about a 20th of the price, and it's not bad considering those facts. So we'll do those drive-in totals at the next break, but check it out, and we'll be here with you all evening. And on this suit thing, don't misunderstand me. I don't care if you wear jeans. but hire a Chinese guy and get some jeans that fit your ass.
Back to Monstervision host Joe Bob Briggs and XTRO 2, the second encounter on TNT.
It's been 3 years, and he still won't talk about the Texas fiasco. I wonder which Texas fiasco they're talking about, because there's been a lot of them, starting with the Alamo, right through the Kennedy assassination, the Houston Astrodome, the shutdown of my favorite strip joint, Gino's Topless, on Harry Hines Boulevard in Dallas. Anyhow, I like that transport scene because it reminded me of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Remember that scene where the kid who watches TV all the time tries to beam himself over the airwaves and he gets shrunk down to about 6 inches high? And then Gene Wilder sends him to the taffy puller? Classic flick. Anyway, I promised you those drive-in totals, and I'll give them to you now. The drive-in totals are 10 dead bodies, no breasts, but there is a little see-through sheet action I'll point out when the time comes. Dehydrated astronaut, neck scratching, tail slapping, claw slapping, alien target practice, human fireball, death by plummeting, exploding elevator, exploding alien, exploding antagonist, gratuitous Tai Chi, about 2.5 stars. XTRO 2, roll it. High alpha wave activity. How come they always talk like that in these movies? Reset embarkation coordinates for maximum. They actually said that. It means time to leave, right? You know, it means they're leaving. Reset embarkation coordinates for maximum. Means sayonara.
Back to Monstervision host Joe Bob Briggs and XTRO 2, the second encounter on TNT.
Well, we didn't really get to see the monster back there, did we? This movie cost under $1 million, and the censors apparently wanted to look like it cost under $1 million by cutting out some of the more gruesome special effects. But at this point, the thing looks sort of like a bloody halibut with a spiny tail. It'll mutate as the show goes along, so I thought I'd let you know what Phase 1 looked like. It's good to have a Jan Michael Vincent movie on, though. He's had a rough life, so I'm happy to get him a little residual check action every once in a while. Started out really good. He was the handsome surfer dude in the great John Milius flick Big Wednesday in 1978, but that was like his 20th movie. Before that, he was Mr. Clean-Cut movie star in Charles Bronson flicks, all kind of stuff. In the mid-'80s, he starred in the TV show Airwolf. He was known to take a little nip now and then, which may or may not be related to his becoming a ruling member of the B-movie royalty, starring in fine films with Heather Thomas and Shannon Tweed and Tanya Roberts. Lots of titles where they take the names of big hit movies and switch the words around, like Animal Instincts and Indecent Behavior and Midnight Witness, stuff like that. Unfortunately, by this time, he was taking more than a little nip now and then, and in 1994, his wife got a restraining order against him because she claimed he broke her ribs in her nose and forced her to have sex with him and his friends and killed her kitten. Jan Michael denied killing the kitten. Anyhow, then he got in 2 serious car crashes in 2 years, one where he went through the windshield and broke his jaw and detached a retina, and another where he broke his neck but managed not to get paralyzed, but they did an intubation, which is where they basically put a garden hose down your throat so you can breathe, and his voice got messed up, and he went into rehab, probably more than once. But the guy is still working. He did a little part last year in that artsy flick the critics like called Buffalo 66. Remember that one? Hardly recognized him, but he wasn't bad in that. All right, back to XTRO 2. Roll it. And Ernie, I only have one thing to say to you. You have no right to engage duo tangents when I'm not here. If it happens again, I'm going to have to reset embarkation coordinates. Are you understanding me?
Back to Monstervision host Joe Bob Briggs and XTRO 2, the second encounter on TNT.
Is Lisa dead? Dang, she was the yummiest thing in that movie. Rachel Hayward is that gal's name. But boy, that guy better watch those prescription drugs. You know what I'm saying? He'll end up like Jan Michael Vincent. No offense if you're watching, Jan Michael. The guy playing Alex Summerfield is Paul Koslow, and I swear I'm hearing an accent of some kind. I think maybe he's Dutch or something. Maybe I'm hearing things, because he's been in American movies since the 70s. He was one of Shelley Winter's gang in the great Cleopatra Jones in '73. We showed that movie. He was the mayor in the infamous Heaven's Gate. And he, of course, starred with Brigitte Nielsen in the immortal Chained Heat 2, Paul Koslo. So here's my question. You knew I had one, right? Why didn't Jan Michael Vincent tell him what happened in Texas? Why would he skulk off to the Poconos for 3 years while they beam more people into the scary parallel universe? And why would he rather kill someone than say, yo, there's a monster inside this babe here? Am I oversimplifying? I don't think so. Okay. Roll it. See, I don't know which is worse, him not talking or those movies where the guy goes, I have something to tell you, and they go, not now, okay? And the guy goes, but, and they go, not now. Lock that guy up. And he goes, but.
Back to Monstervision host Joe Bob Briggs and XTRO 2, the second encounter on TNT.
Oh, boy, there is a lot of plot going on all of a sudden, isn't there? Nexus will be biosealed in T-minus 1 minute. Biosealed. Is that one of those fake sci-fi movie words or what? Why is it always T-minus 1 minute? What does T-minus mean? Why don't they just say everything will blow up in 1 minute? Last time I remember T-minus being used was in those old films from the original space program in the 60s. John Glenn, the first time he went up in space. Anyhow, this flick gets a little confusing here, so I'm going to clear things up for our undergraduate viewers. It's simple, really. They have X amount of time before the whole place gets flooded with a lethal dose of radiation, so they decide to run out to their cars and bring in supplies before the place gets biosealed or sealed up. So why, if they can run to their cars, don't they just drive their cars away? You know? Let's not call for help and let's unload the car instead of driving our heinies out of there. And by the way, that's Tara Buckman as Julie, who's suddenly stripped down to that Linda Hamilton Sigourney Weaver muscle T thing. Yeah. She was the mom in the classic Silent Night, Deadly Night about the raping and pillaging Santa Claus. Remember that? Maybe not. Came out the same day as Nightmare on Elm Street. And, one of those movies did better than the other one. Guess which one? You know what Tara Buckman's first role was? She was a roller coaster attendant in the classic Roller Coaster, the movie I hope they put in the time capsule for 1977. That's how classic that movie is. Okay, go. You want to know my favorite line in this flick? Why don't you get up off your big butt and start combating? I watched this thing 20 times to see if the TNT High Sheriffs had dubbed that in, because big butt just seemed too good to be true, you know? But it was for real. 4 screenwriters to come up with that. You know, I guess the 4 screenwriters had to have something to do besides take a couple of old Alien scripts and change the names. Gotta fill up your time.
Back to Monstervision host Joe Bob Briggs and XTRO 2, the second encounter on TNT.
Well, we had a few things cut out of that last part, didn't we? The alien tentacles ripping the colonel's head off and the alien driving its tail through the guy before it somehow lights him on fire. And in case you want to know what the alien looks like now, since we lost that too, it's sort of a lizard, dragon, kangaroo kind of thing. One thing we're not cutting out, though, is the one, the only, Miss Pennzoil 1993, Rusty, the TNT mail girl. Because yes, indeed, it is time for Joe Bob's advice to the hopeless, looking good Rusty.
By the way, I was only the first runner-up in 1993.
Get out of here. You didn't win that thing?
No, but first runner-up's not bad.
So who is Miss Pennzoil 1993?
This girl who greased herself up and rubbed herself all over the judges.
Where do we get her phone number?
Gee, I'll look it up. We're such close friends now.
You gals in those beauty contests, you always hate each other, don't you?
No. Well, only when your boyfriend's one of the judges, and he still votes for that slut covered in motor oil.
Well, I'll go kick his hiney for you. You know, maybe he has her number also.
That's so mean. I thought you liked me.
I do like you.
Then be nice.
I might like her too, though. I'm sorry. What have you got for me?
It's an email from Joe Rob Shoestein, a
Joe
nice
Rob.
man.
Really? Dear Joe Bob, amen, brother. Speaking of beer, I died of dehydration while waiting for the beer I won on the Super Beast giveaway. It was a slow and painful death, not unlike John Ratzenberger in Motel Hell, although I wasn't buried up to my neck. Every day I would go out to the mailbox just hoping, but no. Towards the end, in the delirium, I thought you might try to email it to me. So I took the computer apart looking for it. It hasn't worked quite since. And see, he put all kinds of crazy typewriter symbols here.
Cute.
Then he continues, under notable quotables, in this month's issue of Playboy, I just look at it for the pictures, someone else reads me the articles. Miss May 1991, in reference to her appearance at GlamourCon, says, Playboy's presence matters. We have to look classy, we have to be classy. This isn't the Panty Express anymore. Then he says, if a naked 19-year-old named Tiffany doesn't class up a place, I don't know what does. Your pal, Joe Rob Shoestein. Well, I can't believe it's taken this long to get you that beer, Joe Rob. When did we show Super Beast? A year ago? I gave it to you, and you took it right to the post office. You didn't take it right to the post office? Why not?
Because Tanty wouldn't let me.
What do you mean?
They said there's no way this guy won that you-know-what on this network.
What are they talking about? I offered whoever answered my question that night to personally buy.
Don't say it.
Why not?
They don't like it.
Oh, boy. Well, Joe Rob, it looks like you're out of luck. But if you happen to get the phone numbers of any of the girls who believe it still is the Panty Express, let me know, because they'll do till I find Miss Pennzoil 1993. And,
I can't believe how insensitive you are.
I'm finding her so you gals can patch things up. Maybe she can teach you that motor oil trick, you know? Or maybe not.
Back to Monstervision host Joe Bob Briggs and XTRO 2, the second encounter on TNT.
So how many of you guys out there are X-Files fans?
Yeah, woohoo!
What do they call them? X-Files. X-P-H-I-L-E-S with a P-H, get it? Ha, ha, ha. Anyway, the guy in the elevator shaft who didn't just die, and excuse me, has anybody heard of mountain climbing safety? I've never set foot on a mountain, and even I'm going to guess that you don't untie yourself when you stop to rest, right? Anyway, the guy who's still alive is Nicholas Lee. He went straight from this movie to the TV show The Commish for 3 years, and then from there he got the recurring part of Alex Krycek on The X-Files, the one-armed baddie who killed both Mulder's father and Scully's sister. They talk about him all the time in the X-Files chat rooms on the internet. They call him Rat Boy. And I think he's the best performance in tonight's flick. I really do. Okay, it's time for the thrilling conclusion of XTRO 2. I never would have guessed that one of those guys was going to fall down that elevator shaft, would you? I love those surprise plot twists. And how about that dialogue? We're packing enough CY to blow the World Trade Center. So you got to be careful with this stuff, because guys in Brooklyn with bad beards and white robes are getting their ideas from cable. You know what I'm saying? Whoa! Cheese and crackers, that's scary.